Hello and welcome to Simple Country Place. I have 4 easy, realistic, delicious meal ideas for you today. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and watching. Please subscribe. Welcome and enjoy. On this day, I'm making stuffed shells. So I have a whole container of ricotta there. It's a smaller one. I don't know how many ounces, but you can see how big it is. And I will be adding mozzarella cheese and Parmesan cheese to that, mixing it together. And then for the seasonings, I'm adding basil, Italian seasoning, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. And this will be the mixture that I will be stuffing into my stuffed shells. And obviously this would be probably better with fresh basil and fresh basil, but I do not keep usually fresh herbs on hand. I mean, I should, but I don't, so I use dried almost all of the time. So for the sauce aspect of the stuffed shells, I am going to be making a meat sauce. So I have that Italian mild ground sausage that I'm sauteing up, and I'm adding onion to that and cooking that together. And then the same seasonings are going to go in this meat mixture. So Italian seasoning, basil, salt, and pepper. And then I will be adding minced garlic at the end when the meat is like cooked up to that as well. Once that meat is all cooked up, obviously you see I'm adding the garlic at this point, and then I'm also adding just a jar of spaghetti sauce and covering that and then letting that cook together, heat up for a while. This would honestly be super good even without any meat, like vegetarian, just the stuffed shells and the sauce. I would enjoy that, but I have buckets of people to feed that are all non-vegetarians. So, you know, Midwestern, you always have to have some sort of meat with everything. In the background, I had also cooked up jumbo shells. So into just al dente, and I stuffed all those with that ricotta mixture, and then the meat sauce I put on the bottom of the pan and the top, and then I'm going to add mozzarella and Parmesan shredded cheese to the top of this as well, and covering that and putting that in the oven. And everything is basically cooked already, just to heat it all together. The cheeses get nice and melty. This was a huge hit. My nephew in particular likes like anything lasagna type, which is, in my opinion, this is just a lasagna presented in a different way. So he was super excited about this. And my husband liked it too. I mean, he likes pretty much everything I make. To go with this, I didn't have, I usually have frozen garlic bread. Didn't on this day, and had excess amount of hamburger buns. So I am just making easy garlic bread, melted some butter, added garlic powder and pepper to that, and then just swiped it on there and threw that in the oven for not very long, just to brown it up. And then I served this with a side salad. And yeah, like I said, my nephew was here this day and my husband, and then we still have those extra people staying with us, so only one other of them were home this night, but they all really liked it. On this day, I made what I call twice baked potato casserole. I'm sure there's a different name, but I have some cooked bacon. I cook it in the oven. I just find that that's easier and less messy, and we like crispy bacon. Even before I was a vegetarian, I liked crispy bacon. We are not one of those people that likes like floppy. But anyways, so cut that up and then have some boiled potatoes I mashed with butter, and then adding sour cream, garlic, salt, onion powder, parsley, and pepper to that, and obviously mixing it all together. And this, honestly, I've usually seen this dish as like a side dish. However, I was like, why can't this be like the main dish? I mean, it has potatoes, it has bacon, which is meat. So that's what I did. But a lot of people, I think, serve this just as like a side to something like steak or something. So I have that baking dish that I'm spraying, and then I'm putting a layer of the potatoes on the bottom, shredded cheese on top of that, and some of that cut up bacon, and some dried chives too. And then I am repeating just another layer of all that jazz again, and then covering that and putting that in the oven. I feel like I use my oven a lot more than I realized. Like almost everything I make goes into the oven at some point, which is kind of weird, but let me know if you use your oven a lot. I mean, a lot of people make like just stuff on the stove, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm doing too much, but that's just how I do it. So yeah, like I said, covering that, putting it in the oven, and just to get the cheese to melt, everything to get nice and flavored together. Super good. This was a big hit. I mean, what's not to love cheese and bacon? And I just served it with corn on the cob. So if you guys have seen other videos, you know we are a big fan of Tex-Mex in my household, and I was like, I wanted to make some sort of Mexican something, but like, what can I make that's a little different? So making taco pizza, and I have that pizza crust mix that I just made according to the package directions. I don't have a round pizza pan or stone, so I just have a rectangular cookie sheet that I'm making it on. And it says in the directions, pierce generously with a fork before you bake it for a little bit, add everything, and then bake it again. So I just baked it for like 5 minutes by itself after piercing everything. And then for the pizza toppings, I adding our favorite taco sauce and using that as like the sauce bit. And then I had made up taco meat like I always make it, except for I tried to keep it a little less spicy because some of the folks staying with us do not like a lot of seasonings. So not as spicy as I usually make it, but made a bunch of taco meat. And then I'm putting that on generously over the entire pizza. Again, this would be super good vegetarian, just with like refried beans and maybe black beans, peppers and onions. Oof, I would like that. But I am adding peppers and onions on top of the taco meat to this, and then a bunch of cheese, and then putting this back into the oven to finish baking the crust and the cheese to melt and crisping up the pizza and all of that jazz. when that comes out, I'm adding some of that dried cilantro. Again, it'd probably be better with fresh, but adding just a sprinkle of dried cilantro on top, and lettuce and tomatoes. And then I actually had limes on hand. So I am adding the juice of half of a lime. So you'll see me squeeze that over in a little bit here. And I drizzled that at the very end, drizzled it just with more taco sauce. And everyone really liked this. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Tex-Mex around here, but everyone really liked this, including my niece, who was definitely the pickiest of the eaters that are all staying with us. So my husband even said, because he orders taco pizza from Pizza Ranch a lot of the time, and he's like, it's better than Pizza Ranch. So that's a win. On this day, I had to make a lot of food to feed almost everyone who's staying with us was here and at the same time and hungry. So I am making Sloppy Joe sliders. So I have some ground beef I'm browning up there. For the seasonings, I'm adding garlic powder, minced onion, salt, and pepper. I usually add more types of seasonings to Sloppy Joes, but again, simple is better with pleasing these people. So, and everyone said it was really good. So, when all of that meat is browned up and done cooking, I am draining the grease just with like the paper towel method, which you'll see here in a smidge. And I was kind of winging it because literally my husband's like, hey, everyone's hungry and here. And so I was like, okay, what can I make that will feed 8 people? Which that's probably normal for a lot of people, like feeding that many at one time, but usually it's just me and my husband and nephew, so it's different for me. And I happen to have a bunch of slider buns on hand, so I was like, oh, that would be a good way to use them. So once I drain that grease, I am, for like the sauce aspect, I am just adding ketchup, mustard, brown sugar, and a splash of pickle juice. And again, this is not usually how I make it. I mean, I feel like I make it a little different every time, but I wanted to keep it relatively simple, so it wasn't too spicy for anyone. And my husband and his entire family call what I'm making here barbecues, and have always. I've always called them Sloppy Joes. I think it's weird because it's like barbecues, there is no aspect of barbecue sauce. I guess like you're homemaking an aspect of barbecue sauce now that I say that, but it's always been, he's like, you should make barbecues, and I'm like, Sloppy Joes, you mean? And it's been an argument for 13 years, but anyways, so I suck at cutting those evenly. As you can see, they're not evenly cut, but you do the best you can. So I have half of I'm putting the bottoms of the buns in, obviously, the bottom of the pan. And then I'll be putting the meat mixture all across that. And I didn't know, like, some people like cheese on their Sloppy Joes, some people don't. So I just put like a third. I put a couple slices of cheese on like a third of them. And it was just, I think, Munster that I had opened in my fridge, so you can see that. And then once that is all done, obviously I put the tops of the buns on, and then I'll be making like the drizzle aspect. So I melted some butter and then added minced onion and some of that garlic salt, and just drizzled and or brushed it across the top of the buns. And then I covered that and put it into the oven for buns to crisp up and everything to meld together. And I serve that with just a bunch of oven roasted potatoes. And everyone was pleased. I was happy that they all liked it, and we did not have any leftovers, so it was good. Thank you so much for watching. Please come back for future videos.